how's it going?
Over here.
Excited to be here. I've had a chance to be at every Accelerate because it's in my hometown, but like it's really just been one of the best shows. So I hope you guys have a good time. How many people would describe themselves as like, hey, I'm new, maybe I want to sell on Amazon? Like, how many people are like new to this space, this game? Wow. Well, that's probably good because I was about to say, like, my message is not for you right now. Like, if anything, my message is gonna like make you a little disappointed. As you know, in my experience, I started selling about 12 years ago on Amazon. But really, when I say selling, I mean like I was just building software, optimizing a business, but just like learning about the entire ecosystem. And so we'll jump into a little bit of data. This data is not like rocket science, but it does like tell a story that I think is very interesting. So if you just see this Google trend right here, how to sell on Amazon, it peaked. People aren't learning how to sell on Amazon anymore. Not a lot of new people are coming in and winning. What I actually enjoy, you will see that it actually peaks every January. You'll see these little upticks. And then here in 2025 was the smallest uptick. And that it's only trending this way, that the new sellers, they're not showing up in the numbers that they were showing up a few years ago. This environment of jumping in to Amazon, throwing up a product and turning it into like a $10 million business, you don't see that as frequently as you saw that in, say, 2016, 2017, when it was actually happening. So, but something else is going on. Amazon's getting bigger. They get bigger every year, and for them, for their marketplace to grow 10%, that's roughly $40 billion. And if you listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about $1 billion, he wants you to know, like, that is a very big number. And they grow about $30, $40 billion a year. And with fewer newer sellers, the data says the big are getting bigger. You know, for the incremental dollar that happens on the marketplace, more of the experienced sellers, the large brands, the Patterns of the world, the Nestle's of the world, the big brands, they're capturing more of that. There's also another trend. This trend, I know some people, like it makes them a little uncomfortable because we have competition. I don't expect to run into a lot of Chinese sellers at this conference, but just a month ago, the hotel that's adjacent to Salt Palace, I had someone from Anchor come to town, and he's like, hey, Scott, like I see you write a lot about Chinese sellers. I see you talk about them. Let's just connect and chat. And if you don't know Anchor, they are probably, like they won the game of e-commerce. They went from like nothing to IPOing on the Chinese, why can't I think of that word, market? Like they won the game. And this guy was like a co-founder, so you know he's post-economic. And as we chatted and we talked, you know, we're seeing a lot of the same trends. But one thing is absolutely clear. Like Chinese sellers are hungry. They're entrepreneurial. They see opportunity and they run for it. And you're seeing the categories that they have success in. You know, the hardline categories, anything that could be turned into a commodity, they're there bringing down price. And so when I get excited about like new brands, new people succeeding on Amazon, I look at the categories that are at the bottom of this. And you know, we think of like consumables, grocery, beauty, you know, some of the pet products. Those are the brands that like, they're staying here, they're winning, and they're playing a game against other US brands. And I just find that very exciting, but also like just let everyone know that like, you know, this is another threat against those new sellers. The large sellers, the ones that have like brands that people are searching and typing for, they're still gonna find success into the future. They've got that like personal connection. And we've all shopped on Amazon. We understand, like, this category is probably made in China product. We kind of feel that. But then when we buy something that we put in our bodies or use in some way, that's a different kind of like double click and be like, hey, is this worth it? Is this gonna like put me in the hospital or whatever? I think I saw a study where some guy in the creatine space, like he bought the top 10 creatine on Amazon, and he's like 7 out of 10 of these, like, they don't have any creatine in them. So you understand that like people are very discerning of consumable products, and that is one of the reasons why U.S. brands, stay dominant here. So this is to capitalize on that, like that innovation, that hungry spirit. Everyone knows that like we beat up on like 1P brands, vendor central brands as like the old has-beens. They still drive considerable revenue, but they kind of are resting on their laurels. As I see the average age of a product on Amazon, the average age says like, what's the product innovation happening? How quickly are things moving? And you see 1P, 3.9 years. We have third-party sellers. They're faster. They're launching products. But Chinese sellers, they're even quicker. They keep launching, keep trying, keep testing the market, and then their feedback loop is so tight. So now I'm really excited that I get to see brands that they are starting in the last 2 or 3 years, and they're achieving huge outsized success. I have excited to introduce, who's also speaking with me, the marketplace manager of Salt and Stone. Now let me tell you 3 things about Salt and Stone that like it's worth double clicking into. They don't have a celebrity X factor. There's no like, Mr. Beast coming in and promoting this product to achieve these results. They don't reduce their prices. They're not like giving out coupons all the time, every day, every other week. They keep their price above. It's a premium branded product. And then finally, they're profitable. So not a lot of people in this world can say that and achieve the success. So let me introduce you guys to Mark. Come on, Mark.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks, Scott. Before I start, how about a big round of applause for Patton for putting on Accelerate? This is actually my 2nd year in attendance, and I can say it's actually getting better and better every year. A little bit about me. I started my career journey in e-commerce about 10 years ago. I actually started out as a sales rep for an agency called CPC Strategy, which then became Tenuity. Was fortunate, was able to convince some people to give me a shot, was able to go from being a sales rep to an account manager, and this was before the days that you had DSP. This is just running sponsored products. Was able to grow my career from there. Went into brand management, and eventually the beginning part of my career was all agency side. The last 5 years has mostly been on the brand side. Some cool brands I've been able to help lead their Amazon channel. A brand called IGK Beauty. They're a 1P brand that operates in the beauty category. There's True Classic, their apparel brand. And then there's most recently Salt and Stone. And all 3 of these brands, for IGK, we were actually able to grow that brand from 12 to 24 million in vendor-placed POs. That's from a net revenue perspective. True Classic, first year did 24 million on the platform on Amazon. Second year, we did just north of 40 million. Salt and Stone in 2023 did 6 million on Amazon. In 2022 did 23 million. 2024, I apologize. 2023, we did 6 million. 2024 did 30 million. And this year, we're on pace to actually do 60 million with a goal of getting to 600 million by the end of this year, or end of next year. And so when I was thinking about what to present, my goal is 2 things. 1, I'd love for you to be able to take something tactical that you can take back to your teams and execute today. 2, give you an insight into brands that are growing twice the category average and how we're viewing things on a day-to-day basis. And when I was thinking of this, there were 5 things that really came to mind. I put them in a nice acronym called SCALE, or a framework that I like to call SCALE. Starting with S, which is systems. I'm a firm believer that you can't manage what you don't measure. Peter Drucker made that famous. I see this day to day. If I don't put the KPIs somewhere, if I'm not measuring this, then it tends to be forgotten. This right here, these 10 products, this is my whole tech stack. This is about 10 years of experimenting and using different tools. This is what I'm using on a day-to-day basis to do a $5 million a month revenue run rate. Anyone can take a photo of this. I'm hoping some of you can even take this and implement this within your own channels and own brands. Quick question, how much do you think this costs the brand on a given month without the ad tech tool? Just throw out some numbers. 100. Okay, 100, 1,000. So I heard 20,000. Yeah, I heard 2,000. That's actually more accurate. It's $2,000 a month. And really, this is just to highlight that Amazon does not have to be a very big budget constraint on any brand or business. When you add the ad tech tool, we get closer to about 5K. But again, very budget-friendly channel, something that can be managed totally with just some of the tools that you see here. The next thing that I want to chat about is C, which I think is channel control. These data points were from FeedVisor back in 2023. These might slightly change with the immersion of AI, but one thing that really stands out to me is when you take a look on the graph on the left, consumers are mostly starting their search for products on Amazon. And you take the graph on the right, when they're looking at reviews before making a purchasing decision, they're also largely going to Amazon. I find this fascinating that one website is literally the starting point for a lot of people's buying decisions when they're going and looking at products. A little anecdote that I like to share, I was actually in Sprouts a few weeks ago. I was looking for some turmeric. I was down the supplement aisle. The stress from seller support was getting to me. And I was actually really overwhelmed. I don't know if anyone's gone down a grocery aisle, but there's a lot of information, there's a lot of products, especially in the supplement category. I actually just pulled out my phone. I found a few brands that were interesting to me, looking at my Amazon app, looked at their A+ content, looked at the reviews, and then I actually made a purchase in store. And I like to share this story because it really highlights the reason why a lot of the brands that I've been fortunate enough to work with are looking to take control over the channel. Whether that's selling 1P, whether that's selling 3P, whether that by themselves, or whether that's working with a partner such as Pattern to get control of the channel. Not only does getting control help the actual channel perform, but it also seems to have a net benefit across the business as a whole. In this scenario that I shared, I actually purchased in store, but I was making my research online on the Amazon app. The next one that I like to talk about is advertising. I firmly believe, despite all the really cool mission statements from the brands that we get to work and purchase from, I firmly believe that the real foundation of e-commerce businesses are, one, to acquire net new customers, and two, to retain them. I'm going to repeat that. I personally believe that the reason e-commerce businesses exist are to acquire net new customers and to retain them. When we're looking at it from an advertising perspective on Amazon, this is the spend thesis that I have been fortunate enough to work with when I'm working with all these different brands. This is the exact spend thesis that we go and we execute against. So from that standpoint, one, it needs to acquire net new customers. Two, it needs to be incremental, so more of that in a second. And three, I'm willing to operate at a break-even ROAS or CAC. If you notice, I didn't say the word ranking. I didn't use tacos. I didn't use ACOS. It might be a hot take. And it might be, maybe some people might think my view is a little narrow. However, the reason I really like ROAS and CAC is, one, it's measurable. Two, given the fact that my campaigns are laid out in the way that they should be, they're targeting the correct terms and products, it's something that I can also improve on a given day-to-day. I take a look at how's my CAC yesterday or how's my ROAS today. I can then go and make changes as needed. The other thing that I want to speak about is branded spend. A lot of the brands that I've been fortunate enough to work with are spending heavily on off-Amazon media. Most of the time when I'm able to go in and look underneath the hood of what's happening, take a look at Amazon Advertising Analytics, the search query performance reports, I've often found that 90% of the time, if not more, a customer is searching for a specific brand, they're ending up converting for that brand at the same rate. For Salt and Stone, as an example, earlier this year, our branded spend was actually high. It was closer to like 10, 11, 12%. We've actually reduced that. We're now closer to 2%. We've seen no change in net revenue. We've actually grown month over month. We're showing no impact in our ranking. And so all this is to be said, when you're taking a look from a branded side, a lot of brand building is happening off these platforms. All that spend that we're able to save, we're actually reinvesting then into net new customers and category terms and ASIN targeting that's allowing us to find these new customers. Some action items that you can take with you today. One, if you don't know what your break-even ROAS or CAC is, calculate that. This is the QR code here is just a simple break-even ROAS calculator. Again, not mind-blowing, but something that also will calculate for pulling in your returns, and also if you run a promotion. The next thing is to just evaluate your branded spend. What is it actually doing for you? And then lastly is set up your new-to-brand and returning analytics. This can be done through some of the tools that I shared. There's other ways to pull this data, but by and large, really taking more of a traditional marketing approach to Amazon versus just looking at tacos or ACoS and ranking. The next thing that I want to highlight is L, which is lifetime value. In this scenario, one thing that really stood out to me, if you take a look on the very far right, for repeat customers, they're willing to spend 153% more than first-time customers. This is huge. For the longest time, LTV has been a black box on Amazon. There's not many things you can do or tools or tactics you can actually execute against that's going to grow your LTV. I have seen Amazon start to invest more in this. So this can be seen such as subscribe and save coupons. This can be seen as just the subscribe and save program as a whole, brand-tailored promotions, and there's also now advanced Amazon advertising capabilities to retarget consumers depending where they are in the funnel. The reason I like to bring this up is that second part of the equation that I introduced. So the first part is the fundamental reason that e-com businesses exist is to acquire net new customers, and the second part is to grow and retain those customers. From a lifetime value perspective, if I'm able to grow my LTV, I'm also able to spend more from a CAC perspective. If I'm able to spend more, I'm able to acquire a customer that much more efficiently, or I'm willing to spend that much more to acquire that customer on Amazon. I'm able to outspend the next brand that's out there, and I'm able to grow at a rate that's faster than other brands in the space. Here is a really good example of some other ways that are, I call it the less sexy side of ways to retain customers. So one, you can obviously do subscribe and save coupons. You can grow that program. You can do brand-tailored promotions. However, there's also another element here, which is touching on how does the brand interact with their customers. In this example, this customer did not have a great experience when purchasing from the brand. It was very easy to just have them be refunded, let them go home, have this negative experience. At least they got their money back. However, in this scenario, we had our system set up in a place where it reached my desk. We were able to go and move a few strings. Not only did we refund them for the product, not only did we send them the product that they originally ordered at no cost to them, but we also sent them a little thank you gift. As you can see from their response, not only had they purchased from Sephora, Salt and Stone from Sephora in the past, but I can take a look at this. They love the products, and this is going to be a customer for the brand for the lifetime, of the brand. So now that we have our system set up, now that we are capturing customers, and we have control over the channel, we're advertising to get net new customers, we're growing our lifetime value. The next part of this is efficient operations. Who knows what this is a snapshot of? Anyone? Yes?
It's 5x deliverability based off each state.
Correct. Yeah, I love that you know that. It's a great tool, one of my favorites. So one thing that I love to see here from a weeks of coverage perspective and from a fulfillment perspective, we're looking at an ASIN level, how often and across the whole catalog can we actually meet a 0-day fulfillment promise? I'm in a fortunate position working with Salt and Stone that we're actually optimizing to about 16 plus weeks of coverage across all of our ASINs. That becomes a little more difficult with some of the new changes from Amazon where they're having more restrictions on what you can send in. However, 16 weeks is still our North Star. This is something that I look at very frequently. I want to make sure that if you go and you look on your phone, if you go and purchase, you can get it the same day. The thesis behind this is that given two like products, a customer is more likely to convert on one that they're going to be able to receive that much quicker. Andy Jassy, who seems to agree with me, but that's the E. And ideally, once you have all these things in place, you can be in a situation like this, where you can be the #1 bestseller in the category. We've had this badge now for the last 12 weeks. Some things that are unique in this situation. Again, as Scott shared, we're doing this with no celebrity X factor. We're doing so profitably. And we're also doing so at a price point that's twice the average than the category. One thing as well to note, when just taking a look, might be a hot take, but I often don't see products that have the #1 bestseller in the category below 4.0 rating. So this is, in a sense, an outlier. That kind of concludes this part of the talk. I'd love to hand it off over to Scott to end some closing thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Mark. That was, that's an outlier product I've ever seen, and hitting the #1 badge in such a brutal, competitive category like deodorant. So Salt and Stone's done a great job. So, again, kind of to wrap up some of his thoughts and some of the things, just we've entered in a new era. Amazon's been a marketplace for 20 years now, and so the COVID bump, we're past that. We're past that a few years, and this is an era of professionalization. You see, obviously, very sophisticated tech stacks attacking and improving, and so what do you do about that? Now, I'll tell a little bit of a story about myself. I'm just kind of a tinkerer. I've made a lot of experiments on Amazon, and 7 or 8 years ago, I was talking to an Amazon employee, and he's like, "Hey, you know what? You really should use coupons. Coupons, they're kind of cool, they're kind of fun, and they help people convert better." I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." And sure enough, I ran a few coupons on a product, and was like, "Hey, if we run coupons on our stale old stuff, the conversion rate, the conversions just doubled." And so I was like, "Okay, let me lean into this." And so we started launching thousands of coupons, literally thousands of coupons. And we launched enough that we broke their system, and I couldn't launch coupons for about 2 more years before they overhauled their coupon. But that was an example of an experiment that actually worked out. Now, I know that this message, this of spending, where you spend your time in your brand and your business, this is actually a message for me, because I like to spend more time experimenting than actually doing the thing that helps you win in business. It's so much fun, but you just find so much more success if you have any sort of leverage in a brand or on Amazon, and exploit that and do that again. If you have an email list that's working, that converts customers, grow it. Keep whatever motions you've got, and don't get sidetracked. Now, I am still to this day very intrigued by the merchandising that happens on Amazon. I see some Chinese brands that, I'm not kidding you, launch about 10,000, 20,000 lightning deals or Prime exclusive discounts or coupons every single month. So that's why I was very surprised when I looked at Salt and Stone's historic promotions to see over the last 2 years, they did all that growth, and they've leaned in about once or twice a year. where it looks like last July they participated in Prime Day, but I'm used to seeing brands do just like gamify the entire system, and so when I look at their numbers, it's so interesting to see them exploit their biggest advantage is they know how to like message their product to consumers. And so they do it over and over again. They do an off channel. They don't need to discount. They don't need to play the games that like I had to play. And so it's fun to see people win in many different ways. Now, so when I spend my day, usually looking at like categories and brands and breaking out, markets, and this product kind of like taught me the story that I needed to learn. So 8 years ago, we were managing a product line for someone else, and I was like, okay, this is a cool product. Let's see it take off. Let's see the Amazon effect. Let's see that lightning growth. And so we redid the photos. We tried every advertising technique, and I thought I was, some genius marketer, but like it didn't really matter what we did. It turns out, people looking for notebooks for kids that have like a fun little element to it, that market wasn't that big. And so kind of taught me like this lesson that I see on Amazon. I see people launching in categories that like, hey, you could hit 10 out of 10 success, and this is not going to be like a life-changing business. And so but there are categories that like they do tens of millions of dollars every single month. And so, Amazon isn't just one market. It's about 40,000 markets. And some of those markets, they're worth everything to go after and to win. And we're finding that in some categories, there are winners that have happened within just the last 2 years. And so I'm still as excited as ever. Like this isn't a doom and gloom for the new seller. There are new sellers, new brands that are still launching and kind of hitting traction and leaning into their strengths. And that's where like a lot of the growth does happen. But they come with a lot more sophistication. They come with a deeper tech stack. And they're coming to the conferences like this to lean in, to learn what is necessary. So that's all we have. Thank you, and have a good show.
Hello. Scott, Mark, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Love the 80-20 rule, and Mark, I think the fact of kind of staying close to the consumer and having that level of connection is something just never to forget about. Congrats on the badge, the #1 badge. I think as a design guy, I like to think that the branding and the packaging hopefully that keeps you there in that spot forever now that you've reached it. We're going to open it up to some questions here with the remaining time, and I think we've got one other mic that will float around. So just raise your hand if you've got any questions for Scott and Mike, and love to hear from you guys. Oh, here we go. You got that one?
I can see you talked about content and Amazon ads and pulling back on branded Amazon ads. Is there anything that you're doing to find that kind of success and that rampant growth, utilizing third-party, high converting traffic or anything like that?
Are you saying off Amazon?
Yeah, driving from off Amazon onto Amazon. I've seen a lot of success with that, and just was wondering if you'd done similar things.
Yeah, good question. I've actually experimented with this for almost once a year for 5 years straight. I've actually never seen Facebook direct to Amazon working in like a profitable manner. 2 reasons for that. One, the tracking capabilities. There's nothing that's sending any information back to Facebook's pixel to actually learn on what converts. What we actually see that has a bigger impact is just overall branded spend as a whole. Typically, there's a halo effect that happens. That halo effect I've seen from brand to brand. At Salt and Stone specifically, we heavily lean into that. One of the things we're actually looking at the moment is for every single dollar we spend on Facebook, how many searches does that equate to on Amazon? For every search we get on Amazon, how many purchases do we actually get? We're looking to work backwards from there and gamify that. That's above some of my pay grade. There's a lot of really smart data scientists working on some of that in the background, but that's the way that we view it. I've done that tactic so many times. The only time I've seen it make a little bit of an impact is on Prime days. However, there's also an offer that's being shared on that day. But again, typically across, whether it's Salt and Stone or other brands, I've actually not seen Facebook to Amazon work unless it might be an email list. And even then, typically what we're thinking through is that worth it? This email list of all these people that we've eventually brought and converted on our D2C site, is that worth it to send to Amazon and get them to learn and start to train the consumer that Amazon is a place that they can purchase from? We'd much rather have them on D2C. And when we take a look at the business as a whole, our D2C, what you typically find is your AOV on Amazon is going to be lower than D2C, and your LTV is going to be lower, but the volume of orders is going to be much higher. And so with that in mind, again, there's a lot of debate, a lot of meetings, a lot of back and forth, a lot of hot takes that happen when we're evaluating should we send traffic from owned properties directly to Amazon.
I've got I think in the back of a lot of people's minds is like this, like TikTok Shop and like its change on a lot of new emerging brands and how like the amount of awareness that it's giving. But I've spoken with like the top data providers in TikTok Shop, and it's not figured out, it's not solved, because there's this thing, a term that's called dark social, where you can't track what's actually happening. I'm sure you guys have had things shared to you in a group text, in a text message, in a DM, and like it could be an ad, it could be a video, it could be anything. And it's like one of those untrackable events that actually has a higher influence on conversion. If your friend recommends it, you're going to buy it. And so there is this dark social layer of like where people move from platform to platform that like there is no way to like fully laser in and track it. But if your message, at the end of the day, like Salt and Stone's profitable, and so they're able to just exploit like that. They have a message that connects with like potential new customers, and how they convert, they don't always know, but some of that top of funnel branded spend like works.
Great question. Right here.
My question's actually for Mark. When you were at Sprouts, what brands did you end up researching and which did you purchase?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I went with Sprouts home brand.
Awesome. One over there.
Just a question around promotions, and I appreciate kind of all the data that was up there to share. I'm curious, of all of the promotions that you've tried over the years, what's been sort of the most valuable learning? Are they most valuable for sales or new customer acquisition? And it looks like from a discounting perspective, you've tried some of those deeper discounts and maybe you're reining it in, but I'd also love to just hear your philosophy on discounts.
Awesome. Yeah. The first thing for any discount before we run it is taking a look at the product level P&L. So one, is this discount actually going to net a profit at the end of the day? The second thing is what's going to be the impact on the business, whether it's on Amazon or omni-channel. Sometimes with a lot of the omni-channel brands and like Salt and Stone, we do have retailers that we like to maintain price parity. And so typically if we were to maybe run a discount on Amazon and not offer a similar type of opportunity to another retailer, that could cause some issues. By and large though, taking that out and taking a step back, we really look at promotions for two drivers. One, is it going to increase conversion on the day? Am I going to get net new customers out of it? And two, when I do that, I'm actually looking at my cohort by month to also see how does this cohort perform over the next 12 months. And so what's really interesting is this actually got brought up with Prime Day planning. Amazon, for certain, if you're in the SaaS program, they offered manual deals at 35%, which is extremely high. We actually took a look at the data, and what we saw is Prime Day last year was the largest amount of net new customers that the brand's ever received, which is a great thing. However, we also saw that we discounted heavily to achieve that. We were actually able to go to bat with Amazon and do a little bit of negotiation. We were actually able to submit for a manual deal at a slightly lower percentage. But that was very touch and go. We didn't know if we were going to get that. Typically, we have a floor that we like to keep at. We typically don't like to run promotions because what we see by and large across the brand is someone that purchases it at full price, their LTV is going to be higher over a 12 or 24-month period than if they were to get it on a discount. It's a great question.
How do you guys manage reviews on Amazon as far as like bad reviews and the best strategy for overcoming that?
Yeah, good question.
There's like a developing cottage industry of service providers that are removing reviews. If you have a body of like 500 reviews, there's a good chance that like 1, 2, 3% of them are actually non-compliant with like Amazon's like terms, like say they swear or they talk about the shipping experience, which Amazon is liable for. So one of those services is called TraceFuse. It's not inexpensive, and you could also do this yourself with ChatGPT if you just dump it in and look for those that you think might be. You're looking for like the 1 to 3 star reviews and that like are saying things that would be against, the review policy. And so that's like one of the few proactive things that you can do. And is it a silver bullet? No, but it actually, sometimes it only takes like 1 or 2 reviews removed on the bottom end to like, bump up a notch. And maybe you achieve a higher half star, which does have like an increase on your conversion, which like improves all of your downstream metrics.
To add on that, this is actually something I spend a lot of time, and we're actually really passionate about this. All the things Scott said, 100% true. There's tools out there, you can go and download all your reviews. Amazon's made changes for some service providers that some of that data is not really as available. However, I was recently able to download 80% of Salt & Stone's reviews, put it in a ChatGPT. There are services out there that can also go and remove them. What I typically recommend is taking a first pass yourself. If you're working with SaaS is actually a great platform if you know how to use them. Take this list, find, Amazon is very clear.
SaaS, as you're defining, is the strategic account seller.
Yes, Amazon Strategic Account Services.
Yep.
If you know how to leverage that tool or that program, they can actually be very beneficial to the platform. They're not Strategic Account Services is not a place just to go and get case logs solved. There's definitely a way that you want to nurture that relationship, but they can help. In this scenario, we downloaded all the reviews. We created a script using ChatGPT, found ones that violated these terms of service. So if they swore, if they mentioned something about shipping, and we have a case open with Amazon where we're actually trying to get these removed. That's from the cleanup side. From the proactive side, we do the normal touch point where someone purchases, they get a post-purchase email. We're following the normal Amazon terms of service there, which is, I think, 1 post-purchase review follow-up. Within Seller Central, if you're an FBA seller, there's a review section underneath customer reviews or underneath the brand section. We proactively reach out to customers that have left a negative review. And then also on seller feedback, which is separate to product feedback, you can also go and find people often, they think they're leaving a review for the product, but they end up going on sellers. We proactively reach out to all of those that leave a negative review that we think we can solve. Now you're going to get people that are I call it the Yelp effect. They're just not going to be happy. They didn't like the product. You can't solve it for all people, but there are both things you can do to clean up the channel. There's also things you can do as well to be proactive on that. And so those are typically the ways that at least I've approached it in my day-to-day.
Gotta love those Karens, you know. And we probably have time for one more question here.
Of all the various badges that Amazon will put on a listing, which one do you like the best and which one converts the best?
Yeah, good question. The number one bestseller badge from my experience, the Amazon Choice badge is probably number 2, but I don't know if you have any other.
No, they both have a noticeable uptick. Again, I talk about coupons too much, but like that's a badge you control. It actually is like, you know, if you were to like scroll through like a mobile search, and this is not what Salt and Stone does, but this is what me, the experimenting Amazon seller, does. Like you get a green badge there that like you can just turn on or off. And last I checked, this has been true for years. Nothing stops you from like raising your price $5 and putting a $5 badge. Like the system has us allowed for that, and you get something that increases like the click through, and then it increases the conversion percentage. And there's not a lot of easy levers like that. Prime Day, like Prime exclusive discounts, like that badge actually means something on that day. That's like one of the a few times where like those discounts, like you can do a Prime exclusive discount on any day, but on Prime Day, they just get their own little like light blue badge, and it just works better because people are turning on filters just to find deals. And so, yeah.
Another thing that I've seen work well in the past as well, if you're also trying to, little Amazon hack here, if you find a category that's contingent or close to what you're in, but has maybe less popular brands or brands that maybe aren't necessarily executed on Amazon the same way you are, you can actually just change the category you're in, which can actually help get that bestseller badge. There might be some impacts on like search viability, but is a tactic that I've seen work well. Little hack that can work from time to time.
Wonderful insights and hacks. Thank you so much, Scott and Mark. Let's give another round of applause.